Okay, welcome everybody. This is coverage of the Santa's Head tribute games way back in October 15th, 2019. If I recall correctly, somebody announced on Discord that on this date, Santa's Head had passed away, and as a show of appreciation for this legendary third party plugin creator, a bunch of players decided to play a bunch of games in his memory. Um, yeah, I mean, I would say that for better or for worse, we myth players have been sort of a very fractured community, whether it's ranked versus unranked, you know, EMPs only, good players, bad players only, Reg, World War II, co op, giant fighting grounds, whatever. It's always been very fractured, but when something of this magnitude happens, it was great to see players from all different, from every direction, willing to play a few games of World War II and pay their respects to this legendary creation that, in many ways, ties us all together to the Myth 2 community. I will say that prior to this game, there was about 45 minutes or so of elim. If you want to check out those films, go to Gate of Storms and check out the films from October 15th, 2019. And as with that, why don't we get going here? So, we are currently looking, let me shift F7, let me shift up arrow. Okay, so for the green team, we have In It to Schwinn It with Captain Bridgestone Tired and Raynoob Spy OWO, which I believe was Asmodean, parading as Wayward One, HMP Sneaks, and the host, Thalander. For the purple team, we have the Beagle Brigade with Captain Scratch and Walter White, Limp, Overdose, Trevelyan, and Akira. So there are many of these very recognizable names, such as Akira, such as HMP. It'll be interesting to see how they fare on the World War II battlefield. I would assume that both HMP and Akira would play very similarly to someone like Thal, who appears to excel at everything he does. So that's just my prediction. Where Trevelyan is a very familiar name, even though he appears to sort of hop on every few years or something. But yeah, he's a very capable player. Limp sort of cut his teeth on the World War II battlefield before he turned into a legendary reg player. We'll have to see if World War II is just like riding a bike for him. I assume it will be. So let's see where everybody's going. We have the man I was just talking about, Limp, going planes with Overdose, as well as Thalander. So, and we also appear to have a engagement in the middle going on, so I'll try and capture both of these at the same time. See an RPG flying in there from Spy, who is probably wisely peppering this middle area with RPGs. Yep, there's another one doing some damage along the way. Up in the plains, we have Overdose and Thal battling it out with some support from them. Overdose losing the soldier and killing himself in the process. We see Spy continuing to lob some RPGs on this hill. However, it doesn't seem to have done much damage because this middle force is taking control. We now see Trevelyan rotating north. Or maybe not. Let's see what's going on here. We see, oh, geez, that almost hit HMP right in the kisser. HMP sneaking around, lobbing some RPGs at the purple team's hill. In the meantime, we see that Bridgestone's team has taken the middle, or more specifically Asmodean, and it could be a potential point of concern for the purple team that they're almost surrounded. And it appears as though Akira has two soldiers walking off the flag. This is Asmodean and HMP. It's 6 on 3. I guess instead, though, Asmodean has opted to pursue, who is this, Trevelyan in the plains. Sort of a interesting decision. I think the 6 on 3 advantage could have resulted in a win for Inna to Schwimmet. But instead, Asmodean opting to engage Trevelyan. See in the backfield we have Limp causing some destruction, irritating Spy and Thalander, no doubt. In the plains, Trevelyan is still hanging in there against... There are a multitude of soldiers. I don't know what happened to them, but he's at a 4-kill vet right now. In the middle, we have this Overdose engaging Asmodean. Launching an RPG. Getting a little help from his teammates. As we can see, this Overdose unit with 4 kills, even though if you noticed, most of the work was done by other players. It looks like Walter White might be a bit jealous of Overdose's kills, so he might have tried to kill him in the process. We see Trevelyan and Bridgestone tired, fighting to the death. But like I was saying, Overdose, he has a tendency to piggyback off other players' hard work and sort of chicken hawks and takes the stats of the hard work of other players. There's plenty of video evidence for that. And so that is very consistent with Overdose's play, even if these games occurred back in 2019. We see Akira mixing it up with Spy, Galander, and HMP and Sneaks. He's likely outnumbered, outgunned, and wisely falling back. One thing to remember is that though the percentages say 50%, 25%, Scratch has a cannon, which means that it's actually tied if you consider only soldiers. It's 5 on 5. So we see 4 players on Bridgestone's team in defense, and the 5th soldier is Bridgestone tired himself in the plains. It's sort of an unwritten rule that if you are the team captain, you should be playing defense. But what we see instead is everybody except Bridgestone is on defense. And there's a gunfight shaping up over here. Akira, Trevelyan against everybody but Bridgestone. Appears to be making a push for the flag.
5 minutes
Overdose is paying attention at home and will likely gun down Bridgestone. around the rosy with Thalander and Walter White, who Walter White emerges victorious in that confrontation. So it is really now just a 3-on-2 game. However, both Trevelyan and Walter White are heavily damaged. Overdose moving forward with his 5-kill vet. HMP and Spy appear to be going on the offensive. Overdose wisely healing his teammate, getting ready for the final push. Oh, and actually what we're seeing now is a sort of split. Spy has decided to go for an RPG. All the purple team has to do is just rush HMP. Trevelyan deciding to take a couple of shots at Spy, but I think Overdose has indicated that he wants to just simply rush HMP to close out this game. Spy is really out of position here. Oh, and Spy actually hitting HMP with a stray bullet. And that's going to do it. Spy caught out of position.
Flag captured.
Yeah, so that was a pretty interesting game. A pretty fun way to kick off the evening. There were a couple of interesting moments. One, I would say, is when Asmodean and HMP had the ability to rush Scratch's flag. If I recall correctly, it was 6-on-3 plus the cannon. Akira had walked off the flag with a couple of damaged soldiers, and I think it was a very good opportunity for Team Bridgestone to make a push. However, Asmodean decided to rotate planes instead and engage Trevelyan, who, in my opinion, was the MVP of the game because he attracted so much attention. I believe at one point it was something like 6-on-2, and a few minutes later it was Trevelyan and Bridgestone slugging it out in the plains. Trevelyan with something like a 4-kill vet, so he just attracted so many of Bridgestone tired soldiers, and sort of pulled them off from a potential game winning opportunity with Asmodean and HMP. That potential rush that could have occurred. And so, yeah, I definitely think that Trevelyan was the MVP of the game, attracting so much attention in the plains, taking no prisoners, and put up some good stats as well. The other second interesting moment is the decision by Spy to sort of ignore the point of the game, which of course is capture the flag, and opted to instead go back to this RPG pile, which, if you recall, at the beginning of the game, he was lobbing RPGs to, most of these craters here are his doing. And just from the beginning of the game to the end of the game, he just had to go back for one more RPG. And I'll remind you that it's an RPG that he actually never even fired. Furthermore, one of his stray bullets actually hit HMP, so you could make the argument that if Spy didn't exist, HMP would have had a better shot at winning this game. It could have been a poor decision by Spy. I think that if Spy and HMP stood their ground on the hill and engaged Overdose and Trevelyan in a traditional 2-versus-2 gunfight with Walter White eventually filing in, that would have definitely increased their odds of winning. That 2-on-2 match, I would have definitely given the edge to Spy and HMP. There was a perhaps lack of communication between Spy and HMP. And I think it was that decision that led to their demise, even though it was a very close game. And if you want to look at the body count, the damage statistics, Init actually scored 5 more damage than the Beagle Brigade. So you could make the argument that Bridgestone's team outplayed Scratch on a body count perspective, but perhaps on a strategic front, they fell a bit short. So let's move on to the next game.
Team eliminated. Game over.